What if some buildings were so dangerous, so cursed, or so controversial they had to be buried, burned, or banned forever? From Hitler's twisted vision for Germania to North Korea's ghostly Ryugyong Hotel and America's forgotten Manhattan Dome, these blueprints weren't just bold, they were borderline delusional. Here are 7 forbidden building plans that the world was never supposed to see again. 7. Hitler's Germania. Imagine a capital so vast and overpowering it would make Paris look like a village and Rome feel irrelevant. That was Adolf Hitler's vision for Germania, a new Berlin transformed into the heart of a global empire. Designed by architect Albert Speer, Germania was meant to be the architectural embodiment of Nazi ideology. Enormous, cold, and eternal. The city would feature the Volkshalle, a dome so massive it could fit the entire Statue of Liberty inside, and a grand avenue nearly 5 miles long, lined with buildings designed to dwarf anyone walking by. Every detail was meant to intimidate. Museums, triumphal arches, and vast government halls were arranged not for beauty or function, but for sheer scale. The message was clear: the Third Reich would rule forever. But the cost, financially and morally, was staggering. Entire neighborhoods in Berlin were cleared for the project. Forced labor from concentration camps was used for construction trials, and underground bunkers were tested with explosives. When Germany lost the war, so did Germania. The city was never built. Only a few ruins and fragments remain, haunting reminders of a world that nearly was. What makes Germania so chilling is that it wasn't just a dream, it was being built. Foundations were laid, stones were quarried. It was an architectural prophecy of tyranny, stopped only by defeat. In the end, Germania was buried, but its terrifying blueprints still whisper from the shadows of history. 6. The Ryugyong Hotel, North Korea. It was supposed to be a shining symbol of North Korea's technological power, a 105-story pyramid rising from the heart of Pyongyang. But for over 2 decades, the Ryugyong Hotel stood eerily unfinished, windowless, and lifeless, a futuristic skyscraper with no guests, no lights, and no explanation. Construction began in 1987, with the goal of opening it by 1989 to host international visitors and prove North Korea's supremacy over capitalist South Korea, which was preparing for the Seoul Olympics. But the project hit a wall, literally. Funding dried up, materials failed, and the collapse of the Soviet Union gutted North Korea's economy. By 1992, all work stopped, and the skeletal tower became a national embarrassment. For years, the government pretended it didn't exist, airbrushing it out of official photos, hiding it from tourists, and banning discussion. Locals nicknamed it the Hotel of Doom. In the 2000s, foreign companies stepped in to add a glass facade, and rumors swirled about opening dates, but none came true. Even today, the hotel remains mostly empty and unopened, a massive haunted monument to failed ambition and propaganda. Its elevators reportedly don't work. There are no guests, no staff, just a glowing shell of secrecy looming over Pyongyang like a watchful eye. What happens when a building is too big to admit failure? In North Korea, you cover it in glass and pretend it was never broken. 5. The Manhattan Dome, USA, 1960s. Suppose New York City had vanished under a giant glass dome, sealed off from the weather, the world, and even nuclear fallout. That wasn't a sci-fi movie plot. It was a real Cold War-era proposal pitched in the 1960s by Buckminster Fuller, the visionary architect and inventor of the geodesic dome. His idea? Cover all of Manhattan, yes, the entire island, in a transparent climate-controlled dome nearly 2 miles wide and half a mile high. Why? To shield the city from pollution, temperature extremes, and in the background of Cold War paranoia, possibly even a nuclear attack. The dome would regulate climate, clean the air, conserve energy, and even cut back on infrastructure costs. Imagine rainfall controlled like indoor plumbing, and smog replaced by engineered fresh air. But while the concept caught media attention, it quickly collapsed under its own weight, literally. The cost was astronomical, the engineering challenges unthinkable, and public skepticism insurmountable. Critics laughed it off as utopian fantasy. Still, the blueprint left a mark. It symbolized the era's fascination with control, with conquering nature through design and protecting civilization from the chaos outside. Though never built, the Manhattan Dome stands as a wild what-if from America's Cold War imagination, a glimpse into a future that never arrived, but once felt just crazy enough to be possible. What does it say that we nearly turned the world's busiest island into a sealed-off snow globe of human ambition? 4. Project Greek Island. Beneath a luxury resort where presidents once vacationed, the US government hid one of its most secret contingency plans for nuclear war. From the outside, the Greenbrier in West Virginia looked like an opulent getaway, with elegant ballrooms, golf courses, and fine dining. But deep beneath its foundation was Project Greek Island, a classified, fully equipped underground bunker designed to house every member of the US Congress in the event of a nuclear catastrophe. Construction began in 1958, disguised as an expansion of the resort. The facility included dormitories, a broadcast center, a massive cafeteria, offices, and even a House and Senate chamber. Stocked with food, medicine, and supplies, it was ready to sustain life for months, just in case Washington, D.C. became uninhabitable. Staff posing as TV technicians secretly maintained the site for over 3 decades, updating systems, monitoring security, and preparing for a doomsday scenario that never came. Most members of Congress didn't even know it existed. The bunker remained hidden in plain sight until 1992, when the Washington Post blew the lid off the entire operation. Within days, Project Greek Island was decommissioned, its secrecy irreparably broken. Today you can tour parts of the bunker, but many of its operational details remain classified. Its very existence raises unsettling questions. How many other facilities like this were built? And how far was the government willing to go to preserve power even underground? Project Greek Island wasn't just a bunker, it was a backup plan for American democracy, buried under luxury and sealed in silence. 3. The Volkshalle. What kind of building is so massive that it could create its own weather? That was exactly the idea behind the Volkshalle, also known as the People's Hall, a mind-bending architectural project conceived by Adolf Hitler and his chief architect, Albert Speer. Planned as the centerpiece of Germania, Hitler's vision for a reimagined Berlin, the Volkshalle was intended to be the largest enclosed structure in human history. Standing over 950 feet tall and capable of holding 180,000 people, the dome would have dwarfed St. Peter's Basilica. In fact, it was so large that engineers believe clouds could form inside due to condensation from the body heat of tens of thousands of people, literal indoor weather. But the structure wasn't about functionality. It was pure intimidation, a godlike monument to Nazi supremacy, with Hitler at the symbolic center. The interior was meant to amplify voices with echoing acoustics, creating an overwhelming sense of awe and control. The plans were drawn, models were built, foundations were even laid in Berlin. But World War II halted construction, and the idea was buried with the fall of the Third Reich. Today, the Volkshalle remains one of history's most haunting what-ifs, a blueprint for totalitarian architecture so extreme it defied the laws of nature. What does it say about a regime that tried to build a hall so large the sky would tremble inside it? 2. Walt Disney's Epcot. What if Disney had built a real city instead of a theme park, one where people actually lived, worked, and shaped the future? That was Walt Disney's original dream for Epcot, not roller coasters and mascots, but an experimental prototype community of tomorrow. Unveiled just before his death in 1966, Walt's vision was for a real, functioning city, housed under a climate-controlled dome with 20,000 residents, automated highways, underground roads for delivery trucks, and a constant loop of innovation. At the heart of Epcot would be a sleek urban centre ringed by greenbelts and residential zones. People wouldn't own property, they'd lease it. There'd be no retirees, only active workers pushing technological boundaries. New inventions would be tested in real time, a living laboratory for progress. But after Walt's death, the company scaled back. Without his leadership, the bold city concept was shelved in favor of a theme park version that borrowed the name but abandoned the vision. Buried beneath today's rides and pavilions lies one of history's most fascinating urban blueprints, a plan that could have redefined how we live. The original Epcot wasn't fantasy, it was functional futurism. So why was it never built? Perhaps it was too radical, too controlled, or maybe the world just wasn't ready for a city run like a company town by a cartoon empire. Whatever the reason, Walt's real dream city was quietly buried under the happiest place on Earth. 1. Vatican's hidden archives architecture. Beneath the heart of Vatican City lies one of the most mysterious and tightly guarded locations on Earth, the Vatican Apostolic Archive. But what few realize is that it's not just about ancient scrolls or secret letters. According to scholars, insiders, and a swirl of conspiracy theories, the architecture itself may hide vast underground chambers, forbidden blueprints, and structures never meant to be seen by the public. These vaults are said to stretch deep beneath St. Peter's Basilica, protected by reinforced walls, climate controls, and a level of secrecy that rivals military compounds. Only a select few researchers are ever granted access, and even then, only specific documents are permitted, with no freedom to roam. Over the centuries, rumors have flourished that hidden corridors hold blueprints of suppressed inventions, lost gospels, ancient maps, and even evidence of contact with otherworldly entities. Though none of these have been confirmed, the secrecy fuels speculation. What we do know is this: the architecture of the Vatican archives isn't accidental. It's a maze of barred gates, sealed halls, and heavily surveilled vaults, designed not only to preserve knowledge, but to keep something out of reach. Whether for spiritual preservation or political protection, the Vatican's hidden architecture tells a silent story, one buried under centuries of faith, fear, and forbidden knowledge. In a place built on divine revelation, some blueprints were never meant to see the light. And that's all about it. If you liked this video, please give a thumbs up, and if you like more updates, subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell icon so you don't miss any videos and get notifications on time. Don't hesitate to give suggestions for our videos, and we'll see you in the next one.